the advice that I could give a female is that when you get into that environment, leave this whole thing that I'm a female. So just get in there and do what you gotta do, voice out your opinions, make sure that you know your stuff as well. Yes. And just be confident as well. Be very confident.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cyber heroes and cyber fans, welcome to another episode. My name is Mr. Fingerz, that cyber security guy. And today we are joined by the most amazing female ever. Man, trust me, she's amazing. She's a dynamic female making waves in the cybersecurity industry. At the age of 25 years old, Vanessa hails from Soshanguve and is currently residing in Johannesburg, where she continues to crave out an impressive career field path for herself. She's a graduate of Rosebank College with a specialization in network management. Vanessa's journey began with passion for technology and determination to break into the ever-evolving world of cybersecurity. After completing her studies in 2020, Vanessa started as a brand ambassador at Rosebank College, where basically her natural leadership skills quickly showing through, and she then sees an opportunity to dive into cybersecurity with an internship at Altron Byte People Solutions, which led to a deployment at African Bank, where she was this is where she worked morely on forensic world of fraud investigation. This amazing, phenomenal guest of ours, she actually sharpened her skills over the years of time to be where she is right now. She currently works as a SOC analyst, and she's going to be sharing her journey, how she started and what difficulties has she had, as well as working in the industry as a female, and also empowering you and I about getting into the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Vanessa.
Hi, Mr. Fingerz. How's it going?
I'm good. I'm sure you didn't expect such an intro, and you were like, yo.
I didn't. I'm impressed, actually. I'm like, wow, is that me?
Well, you have a very great resume, and you've done quite a very impressive things over your resume. And I think these are some of the things I prefer reading people's biography out to them, to show how great and phenomenal you are. And because sometimes I feel like we don't step back and look at all the things which we have achieved, because we're all about the hustle culture. We need to go for the next big thing, and we don't take time to appreciate what we currently have and what we have currently have achieved over the years as well. And your journey itself, it speaks for itself. You know, I know you've been in cybersecurity for a short space of time, but it's incredible how you have gotten to where you are right now. And for me, that's quite inspiring. I think that's why I actually end up inviting you here on the show as well. And welcome.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity as well.
100%, man. Thank you for coming in. Let's step back a bit in terms of, how you got introduced to cybersecurity. How did you know about cybersecurity? Because I know, as coming from a place that we come from most of the time, especially like social movie, most of the time, you never see people who are coming from cybersecurity or know anything about cybersecurity. How were you introduced to cybersecurity?
Okay, I was introduced to cybersecurity when I was doing my second or final year here. So I was doing one of the modules in security. So my lecture was quite interesting and intriguing. How he explained security, I was like, aha, this is what I want to do, because I was touching base on most of the divisions in IT, but then I was not really sure what I want to do after college, because IT is very big and broad. So when we touched base on security, that's when I was like, okay, this resonates with me. This is what I want to do and pursue.
What exactly did you study at Rosebank College?
IT and network management.
So do you think it's important for a person coming into the SOC environment to understand IT fundamentals?
Very important. Network basics are very important, because as a security professional, you need to know how things work, how data travels, so that you can be able to understand different threats that you come across when you're busy doing your threat intelligence. So it is very important to know your networks. Those are the basics. That's the foundation.
And that's true because
Mhm.
networking is actually the backbone of cybersecurity,
Absolutely.
right? Once you don't understand networking, I feel like you get lost.
You're lost.
Exactly. And working in the SOC environment, what is that you yourself have found challenging for you?
What I found challenging is that you work with a lot of offenses, which are incidents. So when you're still focusing on this, another offense which is important as well comes in. So learning how to juggle, how to prioritize, it's very difficult, but then I'm getting a hang of it.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. And you also worked in, as in forensics as well.
yes.
That experience. How was that experience comparing to that to now, to what you're doing right? What's the difference between the two? For somebody who doesn't know at home, who's like, okay, I hear there's
Mm-hmm.
a SOC analyst and then there's a forensic analyst. I think if you can try to define the two, how they
Um,
different.
The two are actually similar, but then there's a bit of differences in there. The difference is that when you are a fraud investigator, you do the whole job alone, right? But then when you're a SOC analyst, there's people that you have to go to. There's people who specialize in certain aspects of it. For example, if it has to do with firewalls, there's firewall guys that you have to go to and approach, and then they take it from there. But then with forensic, you have to do like the whole work from getting the fraud case, investigating, opening SEPS cases, and until the end of it, you do it alone.
Oh,
Yeah.
so to be honest with me, I'm gonna be very honest. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm never shy away. As you see, I ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've heard about forensic investigation, right?
Yes.
And I love sharing career fields and career paths with people, but I've never taken time, I think for myself personally, to do
Mm-hmm.
much more dig deeping about forensics, in terms of what they do and how they do certain things. But the question is, are they jobs in South Africa for forensic investigators?
They're actually scarce. They are jobs, but then they are scarce. Um, in my previous employer, when I was an intern, African Bank, there was like five investigators for the whole bank. So how many banks do we have? Quite a few. And again, there's also different companies as well. They also have forensics in them. The financial providers, they have investigators as well. But then, yeah, there are opportunities, but then I wouldn't say there are a lot.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
true.
so you have to be mindful of that when you pursue that career path.
That's very true.
Mm,
I think I spoke to somebody last time when I was speaking to an industry leader as well. In
mhm,
terms of in cybersecurity, we're always seeing that they're saying there's a huge skill gap and there's so many jobs opening,
mhm.
but the problem is that where are these jobs?
The jobs are there. It's just that experience is an issue. They require experience. For someone who's just starting, I don't have experience, obviously. But then even the entry level jobs, they require one to have experience. So where am I going to get that experience? So it's only a few companies that give you an opportunity and believe in you to give you that kind of experience so you can break through into the industry.
Yeah, and I really
Yeah,
like
there
that.
are jobs.
There are jobs, and I
Mm,
truly believe that.
mm,
And since you spoke about the experience, and that experience part one, it's something which intrigues me as well.
yeah.
In terms of getting the experience, how do you think one should go about? I'm at home, for
Mm-hmm,
example, they say I've been studying cybersecurity or I've
yeah.
gotten my CompTIA or whatever, and I'm like, okay, Vanessa, I'm inspired by you now,
Okay.
and I wanna build my own experience so I can
Mm-hmm,
get that experience because most of these job titles are saying that you must have 1 year experience, but
mm-hmm.
how do I go about by getting and giving myself experience? What do you think are the right path? Because I know there's no right or wrong path, but what do you think for you if you were starting out? How would you go about?
For someone who's starting, does that person have background of IT or it's someone breaking through from a different field?
So this is somebody who's saying, I'm breaking in from a different field. Let's say
Hmm.
they're breaking in from an HR's perspective.
Yeah.
They have no IT knowledge and they just they thinking to themselves, if I
Mm-hmm.
collect certificates, I'll just go into cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm. And that's not the case. Okay, so obviously you need to cover your basics, your networks. So what I usually advise people is that there's virtual machines that you can actually play around in. You just download your VMware, for example, and download your ISO, play around with them, learning how to configure your Active Directory and stuff like that. Actually, like configuring your own network environment and play around with it, so you can gain an understanding of how things are work in a professional environment in terms of IT. And thereafter, there is labs. You can try Hack Me, as for example, if ever you want to break into cybersecurity. You learn the basics of hacking, which will give you knowledge on how to safeguard the environment, because you need to think like a hacker in order for you to protect the system, right? So and then learn the tools that are used in most environments. And then also you need to be mindful of the career path that you need to take in cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is very broad. For example, if you want to break through into SOC analysis, you need to learn SIEM. Choose one SIEM tool and play around with it, and yeah, take it from there. And when you start applying, you now have knowledge and skills of SIEM, any SIEM tool, for example, Curator. And now when you get into an interview, you'll explain, you know your stuff, right? So yeah, I think the hiring team can give you an opportunity when they can see that you are actually trying and you have the skills, a bit of skills and knowledge.
Yeah, and and that what you just said right there, it's absolutely amazing, because just to
Mm.
add on to what you're saying is that you can give yourself experience by doing all these things. Obviously,
Yes.
as you mentioned, you know, making sure that you have your own computer. If you don't have your own computer to start up a VM, you know, you can use like your labs, like your TryHack Me, your Let's
Mm-hmm.
Defend. Use that, have that portfolio, put it on your resume, send it out as well. Because as you know, in our industry, they're always going to be asking you, what have you been doing to upskill yourself,
Right.
right? That's
Mm-hmm.
the one question which they always asking as well. Now, again, going back to your role at your current role right now, you
Mm-hmm.
work as a SOC analyst.
Yes.
So, for a person who's sitting right now and they don't know what a SOC analyst is, what is a SOC analyst and what is that you do on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, on the day-to-day basics, I'm in L1, but then there's no longer levels, but then it's L1 either way. So what I do is that I receive an offense, which is an incident, through Curator, and I open that incident and see what actually transpired on that incident. There are events. Which gives you an idea on what is actually happening. And then also you have to have a bit of knowledge of what kind of incident is that, where is it coming from, is it local to remote or it's remote to local, and thereafter what actions to take with that particular incident. For example, if it's remote to local, you just have to go through the events and see what action was taken on that incident or that traffic. Was it blocked, was it allowed? If it was blocked, then fine, you can just close it. But then if it was allowed, that means you have to take it up with firewall, and firewall will investigate even further what actually happened, why this traffic was allowed, and so forth. And thereafter, endpoint will take it from there, try to investigate the host machine, and so forth. So basically, it's just me going through the offenses every day, gathering as much evidence as possible so I can pass it to the next team if needed be.
What is 2 or 3 things that you enjoy about your job?
What I enjoy about my job, getting
Yeah.
new offenses, because I'm still new into SOC analyst, so everything is it's still that new and very interesting. So
Yeah.
I'm still learning as well. You never stop learning, unfortunately. So yeah, I
That
am
is
still,
true.
yeah, I am still learning. So working with different offenses and learning about those particular incidents. Yeah. Because you don't
Yeah.
just get an offense, investigate and close it. You need to understand what that offense is about.
Yeah, and the learning part, the
Mm.
learning never stops, eh?
It never stops.
The learning never stops. Let's talk about certificates or certifications.
Mhm.
How important do you think they are, and what certifications do you currently have right now or hold?
For me personally,
Yeah,
certifications are very important because they actually open up doors in such a way that certain companies, for example, like Kichima, you need to get clients, right? And those clients require you to have like certain certifications. So if you have like a certain certification like CEH, you know that okay, they might need that, in that
yeah.
case. So, and then also it's important for me as an individual to have it, because some certifications they focus on they dive deeper actually than your degrees. They dive deeper into cybersecurity, for example, like your security plus, and you gain more understanding um, as to what is actually happening in security, what is security, and yeah, and so forth. So when you're doing your degree, it's always about touching the base. The base. You are always touching bases, and not diving in deeper into understanding in depth as to what is
Mhm.
happening, and you're doing a lot of things at the same time. The certifications that I currently have security plus. I have, oh, my cloud plus expired, so I can't count that anymore.
You count it. It's still you
I
still
can.
have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have cloud plus. I have CH, which is expiring as well this month. Yes, and then I have key factor, which focuses on crypto. Yes. What else do I have? I also did a bit of IBM courses, the ones that were free. They focus on cloud, they focus on security, coding, and so forth.
Yeah, and most of these certs that you have, some of them
Hmm.
are you did them in a company as well because these some of them are vendor certifications, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because most people don't know the difference between vendor certificates
Hmm.
and also that. Because I always say to people most of the time that be careful of doing vendor certificates where it's going to be very questionable in terms of doing vendor certificates where they're going to ask you that you've never worked for a cybersecurity company, but you already have vendor certificates, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
You know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So how do you find because most people don't know how the SOC works because they don't know that SOC working in the security operations center, you work in shifts and you work, in different day times of the day.
Yeah.
Let's talk about working in shifts with you. And we were talking about this before we started
Yeah.
recording.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you find balance between having a personal life and also, and trying to focus on again, you want to study and doing
Hmm.
all these things and working shifts. How do you find balance?
Okay, firstly, working in shifts, it's difficult. I don't want to lie. I work 12 hours a day. I do day shift and night shift. So when I do my day shift, I do 4 days in. And during that 4 days, I make sure that I have nothing planned outside of work. Because obviously I get in at 6, and obviously I'm working at the office. I need to get up early. I leave while it's dark, and I get home when it's dark. So there's nothing to do basically. Just yeah, rest and prepare for the next day. So I make sure that I have nothing planned for that 4 days. And after that 4 day shift, I'm on standby. I also have nothing planned for those 4 days. And after that I switch to night. After night, that's when I can plan something. And the funny thing is, not you're trying to squeeze everything on that 4 days off that you have. So I always make sure that I plan ahead. And another thing is that I'm not that social, so that kind of helps a bit as well. So yes, my work and life is balanced, so I always make sure that I plan ahead and
Mhm.
prioritize things when I have that 4 days off, and cover
Yeah.
as much things as possible. And as for studying, I do study a bit during my night shift because there isn't a lot that is happening. So I get a bit of time to study. Yes.
How have you been finding it working as a female in the SOC? And I know most of the time, because guys, especially us men, we
Mm-hmm.
don't want to be corrected with some of things.
You're right.
But how have you been finding it working as a female in the SOC environment? And what advice would you give to upcoming females who are going to be SOC analysts?
Okay. Firstly, in my current environment, I don't feel like I'm treated some type of way because I'm a female. Listened to whenever I have grievances. It's easy for me to voice out my opinion. without me being made to feel some type of way. The advice that I could give a female is that when you get into that environment, leave this whole thing that I'm a female, whatever, whatever, whatever. So just get in there and do what you gotta do, voice out your opinions, and ensure that whatever that you voice out is listened to. But then I'm not saying that you should force it, but then make sure that it has you know your stuff as well. Yes, and stand by yeah, just be confident as well, be very confident.
Yeah,
Being a female, it doesn't mean that you should be treated differently or otherwise.
yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
deserve to be listened to as well.
That's very much true. I really like that. I'm gonna read you. I'm gonna ask you now. This question is for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think I started liking to ask most of my guests this one particular question, right? And and I just need you to be honest with me with this one. So if right now you were to be 70, think about it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you had a magic phone right now,
Mm-hmm.
and you are 70 years old, and you will give yourself and you will call and give yourself advice to the younger you, who's you right now here,
Mm-hmm.
what advice would you give to yourself?
What advice I would give to myself? Considering the fact that growing up, I was not so confident. I was not outspoken. I'd tell myself that be confident and trust yourself. You're gonna make it. Just trust
Mhm.
yourself. Don't listen to the noise and just do what you gotta do.
Amazing, beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. And just any last words of motivation for our current people out there who are listening and say,
Mhm.
Vanessa, you have inspired me. And what would you give to somebody who's sitting at home and like,
Mhm.
cybersecurity is too much now. Yo, there's too much things that I need to study. I don't know.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to such a person?
Firstly, the most important one is to believe in yourself. Yes. Because sometimes when you come across something that is completely new, you become confused. You're like, I won't be able to do this. So you end up being discouraged. So you need to believe in yourself. And then also don't be afraid to ask questions. Go on LinkedIn, connect to people who are in the roles that you are trying to pursue. Ask them questions. How did you get in? How did you start? So gather as much information as possible so that you know which path to take. You know what to do in terms of studying, in terms of the skills that you need to acquire as well. Yeah, and I believe that anyone can do anything, honestly. Nothing is impossible. If you can do it, I can do it as well. That's just me.